YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back with another online battle. This time it's going to be against a viewer who told me he just got done watching my last battle and assured me that he wouldn't be so gracious to me if I brought elephants. I wasn't planning on bringing elephants against Egypt. More so I was worried that he might bring chariots. Whoops, but he did not, which is good for me. Anyway, so I brought 4 Thurio spears. I have 3 Royal Peltast, 3 mercenary Italian swordsmen, and 4 Thessalian cav, 2 citizen cav, 1 militia hoplite, and I just threw some upgrades on it because I had a little bit of money left over, and why not? Makes these guys a little more sturdy. Already a pretty sturdy unit for the price, to be honest. Oh, by the way, if you all haven't checked it out, there's another YouTuber. His name's Maximus Decimus Meridius. Every now and then he leaves comments on my channels. Some of you have been asking me to show more game mechanics, and I plan to. But in case you want to see some good stuff, go to his channel. He's actually put up some really good videos recently explaining a few different mechanics of the games. And he's also got some entertaining content if you're looking for videos to watch, other than my own. Not that I don't want you to watch mine, because I sure appreciate it, but I mean, if you're just looking for other good Total War content, he's one of many that makes good Total War content. There's a lot of good Total War content on YouTube, actually. It's pretty impressive. Glad to see that, though. So anyway, my opponent brings a lot of slingers. I don't know what he expected from me as Epirus, whether he expected pikes or what, because their melee infantry is somewhat lackluster. No idea what he expected. Epirus can also bring Aspis Companion Cav. My opponent, and this is one of the weaknesses of Egypt that you can sometimes try and take advantage of, their cavalry, their Ptolemaic Cav is really quite good, but also very expensive, which means it's going to be limited in number. And then Citizen Cav is kind of their next best, and it's not all that great. Now, this light cavalry is actually pretty darn good cavalry for the price. Pretty really good cavalry for the price, actually. Low armor, but all around decent stats on this light cav unit. So I really actually, Egyptian cav and light cav are a little bit probably underutilized. Anyway, I'm just going to use my Thurio spears to start throwing javelins. I didn't want to bring foot skirmishers, so I just used Thurio spears instead. They're a lot harder for enemy skirmishers to deal any damage to, and his slingers will have little, if any, effect on my men. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm going to bring up my these swordsmen to answer his Galatians. He's going to pull them back to the center, seeing that they're outnumbered, and he's going to send a Galatian Royal Guard. So he's got three Galatian Royal Guard, 2 Galatian swordsmen, I want to say like 6 slingers, and then the cavalry that I just named off. So again, I'm screening with all my Thurio spears, and then I'm going to also move up, and I'm throwing my javelins actually at his Galatian Royal Guard. Just trying to get some HP damage done on those guys. His Galatian Royal Guard are superior to my Royal Peltast, I think. But look at that, nice volley into the flank of those Galatian Royal Guard. And again, so the Royal Peltast, I'm going to try and use their javelins to max effect, basically, is what I'm going for. Now, he's also hurling javelins. And here I managed to countercharge this Galatian Royal Guard, absorb the charge with my cheap Italian swordsman, and then I'm going to hit with a flanking charge for my Royal Peltast, which also have a nice charge. So this fight I will win because this Galatian Royal Guard was sufficiently weakened beforehand. And then I'm going to lure these Galatian Royal Guard out and try and lure them away where I can help assist in destroying them with my cavalry. My micro is a little slow because things are all over the map. I did manage to catch his light horse, and I'm going to kill it. I'm going to try and intercept this Thurio spear with my own Thurio spear just to keep it from coming into this fight. And then I'm going to use my general to get in here and start going after some of his cheaper units that aren't very well protected. Now he is shooting into the back of my general right there. That's a good move. But eventually my general's going to hopefully move out of range. And I'm keeping my cavalry in reserve just to kind of see how my opponent uses his, to see if I can just maybe kind of counter move. Close fight here between these 2 units, but he does have some Galatian swordsmen in there as well. So eventually these Royal Peltasts will get beat down. At least I believe they will. Out here, though, his Galatian Royal Guard's getting worked over pretty hard by this Royal Peltast. If Galatian Royal Guard get a fair, clean charge in the open, they should win. And then check it out, just a quick charge on his Galatian swordsman. That's going to drop those guys pretty substantially. These medium sword units are just hugely vulnerable to cavalry when they're not braced. And then over here, I'm going to just try and get into this cavalry and hopefully onto his skirmishers. If I leave too many of his skirmishers left, he might be able to shoot me to death in late game. I am going to go ahead and use the whip with some of my guys, just try and get as many kills as I can. With my general, I came in and used Battle Rhythm, and then as soon as Battle Rhythm was done, here in a second I go ahead and use the whip. And I've brought the general that has the second wind ability. The idea is like, hey, I can come in, use battle rhythm. That'll make my men a little more tired. Doesn't matter. I'll turn around and then use the whip, which makes them fresh while it's engaged. And then when that's over, I'll turn around and use second wind to my general so he can just stay fresh. So I'm trying to maximize the killing potential of my Royal Peltast general, essentially. So, yep. Out here, again, I've got his Galatian Royal Guard caught up in an engagement with Italian swordsmen, which is just really not going too well for them because he got countercharged by the second unit after he'd engaged the first, and then I'm going to rear charge him with Thessalian Cav. So this unit is not going to end up being very cost effective. It would have to kill like 3 of these Italian swordsmen to pay for itself. And in the meantime, I am putting pressure on my opponent's skirmishers. He has to defend them, whereas I don't have to worry about defending any skirmishers here. Look how long that light cavalry lasted. And it took down half a citizen cav. Again, I was telling you that light cavalry is not a bad unit, and I'm pretty sure I caught it without having charged me. This Royal Peltast, I was pleased in the end. It tanked out fairly well, considering the odds here, but again, the Galatian Royal Guard, I believe, is the superior unit, and it's now exhausted because I used the whip earlier. My general, though, you can see, is fresh, even after all that fighting, but he is taking some losses here. The Ptolemaic Cav gave him a solid charge and killed quite a few of the men in that unit. It was unfortunate for me, which means that I have to face the Ptolemaic Cav, and I'm still having to fight off these Galatian swordsmen from behind, so it's kind of a sorry situation for my general, and I need to bring him assistance. So my opponent wins this fight here, but I've got this second Royal Peltast free that just helped destroy a different unit of Galatian Royal Guard, and I'm going to charge it in. I think it's interesting that my opponent and I both had the idea of bringing like an elite sword corps, and end up facing each other. These Galatian swordsmen are going to get wrecked by my Thessalian Cav, and then I'm going to chase off his Ptolemaic Cav general here. So his general's forced to flee, and my opponent's infantry has pretty much collapsed at this point. He's got a few units left, like this one here, but it is going to lose this fight. It's exhausted, so is mine. But now that there's no charge really involved, the higher attack of my Royal Peltast should come to bear here. Now, Galatian Royal Guard is not a slouch unit, definitely a good unit. Here I'm going to try and switch out a little bit, get these Thessalian Cav, or get his Citizen Cav cut up in my spears, get through here. I've got to kill these slingers. I don't want these guys shooting me to death in late game. Over here, I was just trying to do what I could to damage his general and tie him down, so I charged in while he was finishing off a Citizen Cav, and got a decent charge, but after that, I'm not going to get a whole lot of kills on that Ptolemaic Cav, and he's reinforced with another Citizen Cav. But at this point, I am getting to his slingers. He's doing the smart thing and trying his hardest to shoot me with his other slinger units, but this is going to be pretty damaging. I'm going to get a fair number of his slingers here before he can answer this. So this is good for me. I badly needed all these kills on his slingers. So that means he doesn't look like he has enough. He does have this unit out here, though, too. So it's definitely still up in the air. His general, I don't know if he died yet. Shake and attack in the rear. I think his general's still alive. Look at this militia hoplite. It's done a stellar job this whole time. Let's see how its attack stacks up with this Theriosphere. 26. Yeah, actually equal attack between the two units. Just more armor on or actually more armor on my hoplites. I think they would win this fight. Plus, I put them into hoplite wall just to make them last longer. I didn't want them to rout. So I'm going to chase off his cavalry with this Theriosphere. They're good for this. If my opponent could get far enough away and charge back around, he could kill a bunch of my Theriospheres, but... And then here, he does get a rear charge, which is going to be nice, but it wasn't the best charge. And at this point, I am out of cavalry, unfortunately, and I was really worried that my opponent was going to bring this cav around here and go after these weak Italian swordsmen, but instead he decides to go for my general, and I was like, it's just a citizen cav, I'm not too scared of it, and we'll see what happens. Even a citizen cav trying to get into a Royal Peltast. Believe it or not, these elite sword units are still vulnerable to almost any cavalry unit on the charge if they're not braced. Shot cavalry in particular, but even cavalry like Citizen Cav can be dangerous under the right circumstances. I think right there, casualties to Stain. Can't remember if... General dead. Yeah, so the Egyptian general just died, and look, he got that charge on my Royal Peltast and killed almost, like, I think it was like 6 or 7 men. The Citizen Cav, that's not bad at all. So I am a little afraid. I've got very few javelins left, and look, his slingers are actually getting into the non-shielded flank of my Royal Peltast. So I'm going to go back into this cover and just see if I can ride out some of this slinger fire. These guys are not very accurate, but they do have quite a bit of ammo, and over a period of time they can be a threat. So right now their morale's quite low, but if my opponent gets enough shots here, he may be able to kill me. So I've got to flee back to the woods, and he's going to try and charge in with his cav as that's happening, but then thinks again as I manage to get into shield wall. Now with my men in the woods, his slingers will cause very little if any damage. So I'm like, you know what, I want to push his slingers off so I can come out here and help finish off this Thurio Spear. My worry was that my own Thurio Spear would get isolated and destroyed. So I spread out this Italian swordsman, and now my opponent's got to make a decision. He's either got to bring his cav around here and face them, at which point I'll isolate his Thurio Spear, and I'll continue to be able to push back his slingers, or he's got to stay here and try and annihilate my Thurio Spear while I chase his slingers away from firing position. And the reason I spread out really wide is because I want to, if my opponent is going to split up and avoid me, I want him to have to split wider and take more time, if that makes sense. So a wide line is going to force him to split up more. I can effectively push back all 3 units, even though he's not necessarily running away all in the same direction. See how that works? Anyway, again, go into square formation here just so his cav can't back charge me. And then I'm going to bring my general, who's the weaker Royal Peltast unit right now, into the back of his Thurio Spears, and then block for my general right here with this second Royal Peltast, so that he can't get a clean cav charge on my general. So he's either forced to charge a square, or this healthier unit of Royal Peltast, which I try to get into shield wall, but wasn't quite on time. My guys weren't really quite braced for that, so they will take a few losses. But his guys were on an uphill charge with limited numbers, so this is actually going to turn against him here, and this is where the tide of battle is going to definitely swing into my favor. My opponent at this point said GG, and he runs his slingers back into my men. I don't know if they were out of ammo, or if he just didn't feel like he had enough ammo or the time or whatever it was to get this done. Very close battle is a fun one. So again, my opponent and I actually employed somewhat similar infantry lines, like a very limited number of infantry, but very elite for the most part. My cavalry was stronger than his, and we'll see how that plays out on the kill screen. What he didn't spend in cav, he spent on his skirmishers. Well, he spent quite a bit on cav still, because that one Ptolemaic cav is pretty expensive. That's one of the reasons why I like this Thessalian cav. They're not particularly powerful for a shot cav, but I actually like them because of their price point. I think they're quite good for the price you pay. And they provide shot cavalry at a very affordable price point, which is nice to have in a battle. Now at the last second here, I accidentally used the whip on my general, so I had to let him stand still. And then I used second wind on the Thurio Spear so that it would have enough speed to hopefully give chase to these Egyptian slingers. And my opponent, though, no longer intends to run, I don't think. The Thurio Spears have a very nice block chance on their shield, plus decent armor. So his slingers are going to have a hard time killing them frontally with their missiles. And my Thurio Spears again here are going to actually catch him, but mainly because I think my opponent was just not going to run at this point. But it was a good battle. Definitely what's funny is that this is a Pyrrhic victory while I'm playing as Epirus. So, yep, there we go. Well, it says costly victory there, but it says Pyrrhic victory here. So let's take a look at the breakdown here. His Ptolemaic cav only got 117 kills. Probably not worth it. If all of those kills were Royal Peltast, it would kind of like be a break even, but I know that not all of his kills were Royal Peltast, so in the end that unit didn't really pay for itself. That's one of the dangers of Ptolemaic cav. It's really quite good, quite deadly on the charge, and pretty good attack even afterwards, but it's definitely one of those units that you've got to get a lot of units killed with it. Now if you look at our sword infantry, my general was able to get into a lot of his weaker infantry units and tear up 2 to 3 of them. So he ended up doing all right. On the head-to-head, this Royal Peltast did pretty good because a lot of its kills actually were on Galatian Royal Guard, but you can see his Galatian Royal Guard didn't go down without a fight. They were tough units, and in fact, this Royal Peltast got beat down by one. Now my Thurio Spears for the most part didn't do a whole lot other than screen for my main infantry, but this one actually did very well, got quite a few kills. This Italian swordsman with a pretty epic performance here. And this one not bad itself. This one got trashed, apparently by something. I didn't quite catch what it was, and several of my Thessalian cav doing pretty good as well. So, hope y'all enjoyed this. It was a fun battle. Appreciate the good game from my opponent, and kudos to him. It was a good time. And no, I didn't try any elephant tricks with him, so not this time, but who knows. Maybe I'll try it again in the future and fail hard. Anyway, HeirofCarthage, signing off for now.